that is allowed to say, right?
Yeah, it's nice to be known.
Brian, I always like to learn from what is the story, the personal story. Where are you coming from? How about the beginnings and stuff like that? I mean, share with the audience.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure. I was a career salesperson, 30 years, did 12 different startups, mostly in the high tech, venture backed area.
okay,
And after 12 of them, I kind of wanted to do something else. So I started my own company, wrote a book, started a podcast, became very active on social. And what I wanted to do was share what works in sales because
okay.
it's the most misunderstood profession in the world.
That
People
is,
think you're either born with it or you're not, or you need some kind of magic, or there's some magic words to
uh-huh,
use. And it's just a skill. It's a skill that, anybody who wants to learn it can learn it. And
okay.
once you do learn it, it's insanely powerful because you can have great conversations with people and help them out, because that's what it's all
That,
about.
that is correct. So in those beginnings, I mean, do you foresee at one point that you are going to be in this particular position today,
Oh,
where
dude.
with a lot? No.
No, I mean, I got into it because I saw how much money people were making.
Okay.
A-
Okay.
And the idea of, because I was an engineer,
Uh-huh.
and if I worked 80 hours a week, I made the same as if I worked 40 hours a week. And in sales, it's not like that. It's not like you're going to make twice as much. You could, or you could make 5 or 10 times as much.
Mhm.
And I liked having that type of control over my income because it was much more like being an entrepreneur.
That is correct. Yeah. Uh-huh.
You
That
controlled your time, you controlled your focus, and you controlled your income.
wow. Yeah, that is probably it is a great incentive that we can have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's because you can have 10 times income based on how you are going to be doing it, right?
Yeah. And the key is not just to grind. The key is to find smarter ways to do bigger deals with people who are most likely to buy.
Yeah, because it seems to me that we all of us we spend time. I mean, not that we are losing time, but we spend time in activities that probably they are not giving the immediate result, right?
Yeah, because I mean, today you could spend an enormous amount of time in the CRM, online, talking to people who are willing to talk with you, but don't have the problem that you solve.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I was about to ask you before we are going to start the conversation. I mean, you are a podcast star as well. I mean, I don't know how many you have, but there's a lot. I mean, let us know about those options, the podcast. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So podcasting, I really started to promote my book using the podcast. It was 12 years ago. Nobody knew what a podcast was. Nobody had, just the early adopters had smartphones.
right.
So people would listen to it on their computer, like they would a YouTube with no video.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But it was my way of producing content because even though I wrote a book, I'm not a great writer,
Uh-huh.
but I can speak. And then I started interviewing other salespeople. And then I became passionate about what makes great salespeople great. I wanted to decode that. I wanted to
Okay.
understand that. And I think people connected with that. They wanted to hear how other people are doing it
Uh-huh.
because the great ones want to become better. The good ones want to become great.
Right, right.
Yeah. Because sales is one of those things. It's no fun being okay in sales.
You
All
have
the
to be on the
money's at the
start.
high end. All the money's at the very top 1 to 5%. The middle suffers. The middle gets beat up on KPIs and reports and all this busy stuff. But the best get, the accelerators, the president's club, and they get
Right.
left alone.
So, how many podcasts you have?
I've got
Let's
four
start with
podcasts. So,
Okay. Walk us through those.
yeah, sure. The Brutal Truth, which was the original one, is twice a week. I interview the best salespeople in the world. Sales questions, brutally honest answers, a 7-day a week. Ask me a question, I give you an answer under 10 minutes each. The B2B revenue leadership show is both sales leaders, CEOs, and marketing leaders. That's once a week.
Okay.
And the sales leadership show, my newest show, is once a week where I interview one of the best sales leaders in the world, voted on by their team.
Okay.
I have nobody on the show who isn't nominated by somebody on their team. So
Interesting.
at least one person thinks they're a great sales leader. And I do the background check as well.
Uh-huh. Wow, that is a fantastic approach. I mean, definitely. I haven't. I have to recognize that I haven't taken a look at that one, so I will. Because the one that is, I mean, I know a lot, and basically what I follow on LinkedIn is the brutal truth, right? And you have all these videos. Now, all these videos that you have, for example, in LinkedIn, where is that idea coming from?
It all started with, I was a walker,
Okay.
especially during the winter when it's too cold to run.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be listening to other sales podcasts. And I'd hear something that I thought was wrong or misguided or less than accurate. And I get all upset. And all these ideas would come to me while I was walking. And I go, well, I've got my iPhone with me. Why don't I record my reaction to it? And then I bought a $20 selfie stick and a $10 shutter. And I'd walk around and the ideas would just come to me. So I put no time or effort into it. I literally would just walk around. I'll open the stick. My neighbors are looking at me. What's this guy doing? You know, I'm talking to myself with this big iPhone at the end of a stick. And then what really kind of lit me up on LinkedIn was, let me make fun of the things that are wrong. Let me show everybody how dumb it is. So I took my old iPhone that's all cracked and doesn't work anymore, and I'll pretend I'm talking to somebody on the other end.
Okay.
And that kind of blew up, as people love to laugh at the stupidity that we go through in business, right? The silliness, the office space stuff. And I enjoyed it so much more, because I didn't get all the hate and the trolls, because people let that go if they're laughing.
Right. Now, it's amazing because in my mind, when I've been watching the videos, I was always wondering, I mean, how he does it, right? And I thought that you were preparing like, okay, I'm going to have this T-shirt, I'm going to go out, and this is the blog that I'm going to be walking, and this is the topic that I'm going to be talking about. And look at, it's completely different.
Well, that's it, because I have no shortage of ideas. Because now, even when I'm running on my iPhone, I've got like Otter, and the idea will come to me, and I'll be running, and I'll record the idea that I have. And then later, when I'm out walking, I'll develop the idea a little bit more. And what's great about LinkedIn is when you see the comments, you see how people either misunderstand it or don't like it or have a different viewpoint. And I go, great. Now I have an idea for another video. Sometimes you don't articulate it right, or you do it too fast, or you don't make it clear enough for people to get it. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you make it look very easy. I have to tell you that because I mean you are very fresh, very natural. I mean, and I always think, I said, how he does it, because man, I know that it's difficult.
Well, that's it, because once you get the walking warms you up, right? The walking gets you going, and if you don't have the time limit that you have to make a video, you can just go out for an hour walk. I can make 5 videos.
Right.
And you just come home, you upload them, you put it into iMovie, and you just cut them, make them real short and to the point. And I think people like that. Because
So
they're just a minute and a half, right? So it's
how
not a big investment of time.
how about your neighbors? What they said about you? They know
They,
you.
they
They
all
know who
wonder.
you.
They all want.
One of these days, they are gonna take you to a safe place. Okay.
They're always looking. Because clearly it's a nice neighborhood, and the idea of some guy walking around with a camera talking to himself doesn't come across well.
Anyway, I mean that's fantastic. I mean, I always and I was wondering. I said one day I have to ask Ryan. I mean, why and how? What are the mechanics about that? I mean, it's amazing. It's great, and thank you for sharing. Um, and talking more about sales now. Let's get some practical stuff here, right? Um, Something that is coming from you right away, where basically you were addressing the fact that we focus sometimes in on activities instead of doing activities. Can you expand on that? Because I believe that that's quite important. I mean, for everything that we do on a regular basis in
Yeah,
sales.
because when I started in sales, it was pretty easy. You had, a little CRM of some kind and a notebook, or you'd have like a whiteboard, and you write your deals down on the whiteboard, and every morning you come in and you look at it and you're focused.
Hmm.
Right. Today, we open up our CRM and we open up LinkedIn and a browser, and all of a sudden we have hundreds of things to work on. So today, judgment of how to spend our time with who and why is so
Hmm.
critical, because our managers want us to have activity. They want us to work hard, but they
Right.
got to understand that not every deal is equal. Not every prospect is the same likelihood of engaging, never mind being interested.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
the number one thing is that judgment of the 10,000 leads I have, let's say 20 are going to buy. Which 20 should I focus my time on? Because we only get comped on the ones that buy.
Okay.
And it's that prioritization, that focus that really separates out the great reps from the okay reps. Because, sending the same piece of spam and cold call pitch, it doesn't resonate with people who don't have the problem that you solve. So you got to start where they are and build them up. But you got to be hyper focused, because we have too much information now.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And too much information is a problem sometimes, right?
It's a huge problem, because you can go and spend your whole day, talking to people that have no need. And
Now,
go ahead.
now things have changed, right? I mean, we know that most of everything has changed. But in sales, what exactly had changed? What we have seen, let's say, 5 years ago and today.
Yeah.
What are those changes?
It's changed enormously, because people don't want to talk to strangers.
Okay.
People assume if I don't know you, I don't like and trust you. So that means that you're pitching me on something, and you're making me figure out if I need it or not.
Okay.
That has changed, because do you pick up the phone if you don't recognize the number or name? I
No.
don't. I don't even pick it up if I do.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? So, that person should text me. And when you get the email, if it's not from somebody you assume it's spam, and you're like, you might be in market for it, but if you're not, it's spam. And then somebody
Right.
sends it to you again and again and again. And now, all these tools have come out to take the dumb things that didn't work before and now accelerate them so they definitely don't work now. And we've hired all these people out of college, get me meetings. And it's like, some of these people have never talked on the phone before, never mind have good mojo on the phone. And they're supposed to
Uh-huh.
call up important people and build a need. Maybe it might work if you have a big brand, but in most cases, it's not working. So prospecting has gone up exponentially more difficult. And we assume it's all about logic and value. No, it's all about feelings, right? If you feel like talking to somebody, you might answer the phone. If you feel like replying to the email, if you feel like listening to us on LinkedIn, you might do it, right? Most of the people here are here because they know you or they know me, and they're curious to see what we have to say. If they didn't know us, then they might get the topic, or they might have some curiosity, or there's like, is that goofy guy that I see walking around the neighborhood?
So it seems to be that everything changed, but it has become more challenging in a way, right?
Well, more challenging, and we're using sales logic to try and fix it. Meaning, okay, if 10 people isn't enough to get us the leads, we need 20. But we're not doing anything smarter, anything better. Because I teach reps how to start a conversation with a stranger, which is something that our parents told us never to do. Right?
That is absolutely correct. I mean, that's probably the biggest mistake, right?
Yeah. Well, get back here. Get in the house. Quit talking to that person. Do you know who that is? No. They assume a stranger is evil, because why is the stranger interested in you?
Right.
Has to have a malicious motive.
Yeah. What they want from me.
What do they want?
Right. Yes. They are looking to hurt me. They are looking
for my money, looking for my attention, whatever it is. It's probably not on the up and up.
Right. And if the people identify that you are in sales, then forget about it, right? Because the combination of the two, a stranger
and a sales rep. They want my money and my time. I like my money and I like my time.
Now, in those changes, what exactly have changed in regards of the CRM? Because the CRM is a tool that has been in place for so many years, right?
Yeah.
And every single company uses it. What are the changes, the most important changes from what we have seen so far and today?
Well, the CRM started off as a great thing. You get to record your contacts, your leads, your stages, what happened, what should you do next. That part is great. But the manager made the mistake of making the CRM the focus.
Okay.
And guess what happens? The reps know that, so they put the stuff in the CRM that makes them look good to the manager. I don't know if you've ever played golf.
Yes, I have.
Okay. It's self-reporting, right?
In a way, yeah.
Right. So you keep track of your score.
That is correct.
Right. That's what a CRM is. You're keeping track of your score. And you're telling the manager doesn't see the real problems, doesn't hear the challenges that people are facing. And they may not have been in sales in the last 5 years. So they go back to what's worked. Or they listen to the people on LinkedIn about what worked for them 20 years ago. It was cold calling. It was just pound. It's a numbers game. You'll find somebody eventually. And that is somewhat true. But the number of calls you have to make to find somebody has gone up exponentially. It's not 1 out of 10. It's 1 out of 100, 1 out of 500, 1 out of 1,000.
Yeah. How we are going to solve that problem? I mean, because getting someone on the phone, I know that is real hard.
Well, there's a talent and a skill to talking with a stranger, right? I mean, you got a hold of me, right? A lot of people try to get a hold of me, but you did. And why did it work? You didn't know me.
Because you are a nice person.
Oh, I'm the same nice person to the other people I ignored, though, right?
You are very kind. You are a nice person. You are very professional.
You had something that I was curious about. I wanted to get on LinkedIn Live, and I go, great, this guy is going to do all the work, and I just show up. Right?
That's great. Yep.
That's a great give. That's a gift. Right? You didn't want my money. You wanted my time. but there was a good exchange there. There was a good use of it. There was a good application. And I was curious and interested in getting on LinkedIn Live and talking with reps and sales leaders.
Fantastic. Good stuff. The question is very, I mean, I would assume that it's very logical question, right? How a person become great in sales? And I mean probably real fast, right? Because time is money, and then
Yes.
if you're gonna get into a new company, you need to produce results. How?
Well, you got to look at it as a performance profession. Much like golf, sports is a performance profession. Speaking is a performance profession. It's not a knowledge, just a knowledge profession. You have to have knowledge, but you could take a test on sales and get an A and still suck at sales. Right?
Right.
It's how well you are able to engage, build a conversation, understand and empathize what another person is going through, and how to elicit the emotion of curiosity and interest out of them to see if they have the problem you solve, and to get them curious and interested in solving it, exploring it. So, depending on your level of, personal responsibility, curiosity, and empathy, which are the critical three to enable to engage with somebody. So with every performance profession, it's all about reps, feedback, adjustment, try it again. And a lot of people get okay at sales and get comfortable, right? Kind of the Dunning-Kruger effect, the B player trap. They become okay. And then they start to think, well, I could be better, but it's really, I'm as good as I can get, or I'm as good as there is. It must be my territory, the economy, the product, my manager, the CRM. It's got to be something else. But to become great at sales, certainly some knowledge, lots of practice, but really feedback. Feedback from the market, feedback from our peers, our buddies, and hopefully some good feedback from our managers. We got to see our managers as our partner, our coach, somebody who's going to tell me what I'm doing wrong, but not beat me up, not kill me, but just really somebody who will shake me because they want me to be better, not because I'm bad.
Right.
That's the distinction.
We care, or we have learned that we need to create that curiosity, that prospect, right? But how that play along with the confirmation bias? Because when I go out there, or when I pick up the phone and try to talk to a lead that I have, probably what I would like to do is to confirm that they need something that I'm offering. But in fact, they don't need it probably.
Well, if they don't need it, they'll figure that out eventually, right? So that's, but if they do need it and they don't recognize it, that's where the gold is. That's where a great sales rep will give them enough time to develop that need, not push them, guide them with questions, ask them about like symptoms of the problem. Are you running into any logistics challenge, any supply chain issues nowadays? You'll get them talking about their supply chain issues, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you could say, well, have you heard about what this company did? No, tell me about it. Well, they ran into it and we were able to help them because of this. Any interest in seeing that? I'm sure you're all set, but I'd love your feedback on that. Some way of engaging them on an alternative because that high pressure, pushy can work in the simple sale. When you're buying a car or a TV, it's a transaction. You're on the lot, you're in the store, you kind of want it, and you kind of need someone to push you. Right. But in the business to business, that backfires. That
Uh-huh.
tells me you're all about you. You got to be all about them. There to help them, there to get their best interests at the forefront because they sense that immediately.
What? Why is the bad reputation for those? Where is that coming from? Why is that? And it's still, I mean, it's to these days. I mean, it hasn't changed, right? I mean, if we are talking about it, we are going to have to make a bad reference. We always said, oh, like a salesman at the
Well,
car dealership, right?
that's a great paradox because not one of the great salespeople that I've interviewed that's been
Uh-huh.
nominated to be on the show is at all like that.
Okay.
They're usually quiet,
Uh-huh.
great listeners, big smiles on their face, very curious about the other person, don't want to waste anyone's time. And that
Uh-huh.
works because that's what clients want. We all have bad reputations because of the media,
Uh-huh.
our experiences with salespeople. But in B2B, that doesn't work. The best salespeople, you wouldn't think of them as salespeople. You would think of them as a business person. If it's not a match, they walk because
Right.
it's eventually going to be figured out. You don't trick somebody into spending $1 million.
So that's basically the big difference between selling a product and being a consultative salesperson, right?
Right.
Consulting person, right?
Yeah, because people say trusted advisor, but I think that's a little bit lofty. I mean, you have to be trustworthy and focus on building trust. But we also can be very proactive in getting them to focus on problems. Whether, like I sell a lot to marketing people and they all want to save money. I go, you can save money, but you can't buy time, right? What you want to do is spend your money to get the most amount of leads you can within a certain time period.
Right.
Your CEO is not going to promote you because you saved money. They're going to fire you because you didn't get leads. So you want lots of leads. How do you get the most leads with this amount of money in a short period of time?
Yeah. Do you think that a CEO from a company should be a great salesperson?
They should understand sales. They will be frustrated if they don't. They will make lots of mistakes if they don't. A CEO who doesn't understand sales will always assume it's the CROs that needs to be fixed. It's the people. Can't be the product. Product's fantastic. Right?
I heard that before, yes.
Yes, the product's perfect. And I've worked at a lot of companies where the product's perfect and no one's buying it. And a great CRO will work on changing that viewpoint of the CEO, not adhering to it. If they adhere to it, they're going to replace all the salespeople. And after you replace them 3 times, you may wonder, is it their fault or is there something else there?
Now, going into the sales batch again, something that companies are always concerned, number one, because they don't have it, or because what they have something for years and years, and it's the sales process, right? What is the ideal sales process, if it's any ideal, if it's something that we can use and replicate in multiple different industries?
Well, this is what a lot of reps get wrong in that they don't draw out or write down what the process really is, not what they want it to be. What you'd like it to be is you call, you have a demo, presentation, send a proposal, and you get an order.
Right.
That's what we like it to be. It's never that way. What we have to do, if you draw it out based off of the deals that did get done, not from the friends and family, but the raw, cold deals they didn't know about us, we prospected in, somebody there liked it, has the problem, wants it, it makes sense. What did they have to do and we have to do to get it done? If you draw that out, then you'll be able to understand the game you're playing. Because most of us are playing the easy game, not the real game. Because we play the easy game, we send a proposal and they ghost us. Most people tell me 80% of the proposals that go out never close. Then
80%.
80%. So why are you sending proposals? You're giving a proposal to somebody who can't make a decision, has a need, has money, has some authority, some political strength, but someone else there has more that's saying, we don't want to change. Oh, this doesn't make sense. Let's do this next year. Right. And you just, that's a reasonable use of time, but you didn't get paid on it because it didn't close. And who's the company going to blame? Customer? No, the rep. Right. And that's it. We got to play the game to win, not to participate. There's no participation trophy in sales.
Unfortunately, and any other discipline, right? It's the same.
Well, there isn't a lot of others because others can fake it, right? The engineers, they can show something, right? Marketing can show leads. Sales has to show revenue. Pipeline is only buys you about 90 days. You have to show revenue.
So basically what you're saying is we need to do the things that are working and then forget about the other ones.
Well, we need to really dissect the game. Where is it stalling? Why is it stalling? How can I prevent it from stalling? What people misinterpreted as, I didn't push hard enough. I didn't talk about this feature. I should have given a bigger discount. Those are not real. Those are probably minor things. Do you have enough buy-in? Have you eliminated all the other alternatives? Have you built up the economic reason for it and the economic reason why now versus next quarter, next year? And, have you taught the people, your customers, what they're up against when they try and get this done? Because I don't know if you've ever tried to buy anything at your company. It's not set up to buy new stuff. It's set up to sell their stuff, right?
Of course, yes.
They keep real good track of their money.
That is absolutely right, and that brings another question to my mind. The common knowledge is that we buy based on emotional reasons, and we back up that with logic. What is the difference for B2C and B2B? Is B2B in the same frame?
Well, B2C, it's typically a one meeting. Like when you go to buy a car, they say if you walk off the lot that day, you're not buying the car. 1 out of 100 will buy the car if they walk off the lot. So you have that moment of decision right there. That's why they take your keys, they take your license, they lock you in the management office. That's why they do it. And they go, if you have enough interest to get to the lot, to take it for a ride, you're qualified, you make enough money or your credit's good enough. Why aren't you buying? B2B is very different. It's much more like dating. You don't go to the altar the first date, right? You meet for coffee, right? Oh yeah, what do you like? What shows do you like? What movies? What kind of food? And if it goes well, you go to dinner. Oh, you like this food? Let's do this next Thursday. Right? And then a week, a month, 6 months later, you meet the parents. It's a lot like that. It's checking each other out, seeing how good of a match it is. The difference is you're dating 5 people at the company, not just one person. You have to.
That
you
makes it
have
more
to,
difficult.
right. You have to understand, what are the parents saying? What are the friends saying? Everyone's poking holes in it. And it's like, oh, remember what happened last time. And, he seems nice, but don't know what's going to happen in the future. Business to business sales is much more like that, much more of a dance.
Uh-huh.
It's okay. Is this the right product? Is the problem big enough to get a product from outside, get something from outside, or can we fix it ourselves? Okay. We can't fix it ourselves. We got to go outside. We got to go out in the market and see what's out there. They all look the same. They're all handsome and charming and wealthy, but which one's the best match for us? Okay. And what people don't understand is, on the business to business, they think it's purely, solely logic. The only problem is people who are buying it are still people.
Absolutely
And
correct.
they got feelings, and the
Uh-huh,
feelings
uh-huh.
drive it. I go, is this going to help my career or hurt my career? Is this going to help me politically? Is it going to look good on my resume? If this goes south, who's going to get blamed?
Right.
There's a lot of change management that you have to go through, a lot of hand holding and getting comfortable that this is the best, to the exclusion of everybody else. This is why customer testimonials and customer visits and conversations are so critical, because their career is affected by this, which is emotion.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I have to be honest. We tend to separate those things, right? And because B2B should be only logic and
Right. But right. Is there a CFO that's going to admit they have feelings? I've had managers tell me I have no feelings. And I'm like, yeah, sure. That's why you put MBA at the end of your title on LinkedIn, right? Because you have no feelings whatsoever. You have no ego, no emotion.
That's
Right?
very important. Yeah. So very clear about that. I mean, is in the way that you portray that, saying about, I mean, like a dating someone, I mean, is super important, because it's very clear what it is.
It is.
Yeah. Now, I know that this is not a fair question, maybe because multiple different industries have different timelines. But what is the ideal sales cycle, if it's any that we can say, okay, this is in the way that it should be?
The ideal sales cycle is when the customer is willing to converse with you through this. When you have what I call partner in crime type relationship with them, an
Okay.
open, transparent, mutually beneficial rapport with them, at least one person within that company.
Okay.
The person typically has a personal win in it for them. It's going to make their career, their life much better. And they're willing to help you, and you're willing to help that, and they're willing to take that help. When you hear, I'm the decision maker, just send me a quote, I'll get it done, everyone's at my beck and call here, you are not going to close that deal.
Uh-huh.
Because they're going to look at it, they're going to forward it to their manager, and their manager go, why are we doing this? And they go, that's a good idea. Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
And handling objections is something that is very difficult. But before that, I don't know, I probably you have heard this before. And this happened to me recently. I was buying for a software, and the person on the phone asked me, said, are you the decision maker? Is that correct?
Well, the thing about B2B is there's no single decision. There's people who will decide to talk with you. There's people that will decide to look at it. There's people that will decide you. There'll be people to allocate the money, decide if they'll have the CFO or CEO meet with you. It's this. That's why it's so hard, because it's this aggregate of decision. And most likely they will not say no. They'll say not now.
Right.
or
Right.
it's here. We're waiting to hear back. So that's why everybody think, well, call the decision maker, call the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the CEO does? They call back to the person who wants it and goes, does this make sense? The days
Absolutely
of the
correct.
CEO going, I'm going to pick every CRM, every little trinket this company buys. I've got a company. I can't make all the decisions on the trinkets we buy.
No.
No, somebody has to make the case for it. What's the impact of not doing it? What do we get out of it? And justify it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, trying to pinpoint the decision maker, it seems to be that it's very hard in B2B.
It's extremely hard because everyone says they're the person, but they're making their decision, not the company's decision.
Right. Right.
Until you have the legally binding order, you have no decision. You have a bunch of tiny little decisions. Do we talk to you? That's a decision. Do we meet
Mm-hmm.
with you? That's a decision. Do we evaluate you? That's a
Mm-hmm.
decision. Do we decide to change? Okay. Now we got a purchase request, and there's 5 people that have to approve this. They all have decisions. Some are cooperative and some aren't.
So basically, what we are saying is like those small wins that you have to have.
Yes.
It's like those little closings that you have to have, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's the game that people don't understand. They see the game from the portal, their portal, which is their champion.
Mm-hmm.
And most reps only talk to one person, their champion. They're friendly, and the champion does this. They say, don't talk to anyone else. I'm the decision maker. And if you do that, you will never have a deal.
Uh-huh.
Because there's so much work that has to take place inside a company to get any order done. Because most of the people you're talking to can't buy a lollipop with the company's money.
Yeah. And it's a matter of knowing that information, right? Because when you acknowledge that, then you relax on the process and don't get discouraged because
you have to know that that's what you're playing, and you have to guide that person or guide the order or that decision through that process, or be at the beck and call of them.
Right. And there are so many things that can be implied because, I mean, if, for example, knowing that most of the VPs, for example, if you are talking to a VP, they have a bracket, which is, I believe that is maximum $5,000 approval.
Right.
So if the solution is 100,000, then forget it. I mean, that it's people that he needs to reach out and align for that decision, right?
I learned that early in my career. I had a 100K deal going on with AOL, and I was in the office of the CTO, who was a co-founder of AOL.
Okay.
And he looked at it and he goes, this looks good. I really want to do this. I got to bring it to the board. And I was like, what? We're in this big office. This is when AOL was the company. They were the Microsoft, the Google at the time. And this crummy little 100K deal had to go to the board. And then I go, maybe this is why my deals are getting stuck. We're not going high enough, and we're not communicating the value with all the people or arming the people who have to go to that battle. What I call running the gauntlet of getting the piece of paper through the organization. Mm-hmm. Because the person we give that piece of paper to, or that proposal to, probably doesn't know how to get it done.
Now, how you are going to overcome something, and it's exactly what we are saying, right? You are talking to someone that the decision power, I mean, is limited, and we know that you have to go to somebody else and down the line, and probably the whole board, right? How we pass that goalkeeper and move the conversation, because that person that we are talking to probably is not that it's going to be misrepresent what is the offer.
Right.
The
this is the key.
offer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is give them what the board wants to see. And I did this early in my career. I went to the CFO of my company, and I asked him, I go, what do you need to see for a $500,000 deal to get done?
Okay.
And he laughed at me and he goes, this is what I do for the board every quarter. And if I want something approved, this is what they want to see. ROI, references, implications. Did we show our due diligence?
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody on that board has bought a lot of stuff. And if they vote yes, their name, it's all recorded, and it goes south. You have to button it all up like you're presenting to an investor or board of directors, even if it's 100K sometimes.
Yeah, because that is going to go straight to the resume, right? What exactly you have done, and did you accomplish this or whatever?
Well, you know, all the red herring issues are going to come up because the default is to wait. Because on every board, somebody there is going to say, why don't we wait till next quarter? So you got to make sure that objection is in there. Okay, you can wait, but it's going to cost you this much. It's a trade-off. Every decision is a trade-off.
Talking about that, I mean, because this is a dilemma and it's an open conversation most of the time when we are talking about objections, right? Should we handle objections or overcoming objections? What is the side that we need to pick and choose?
Well, I mean, there's questions and then there's real objections. Not
Mm-hmm.
now, we're too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of objections. In B2B, I don't think you so much handle them as like, yeah, you're busy, but where is this on the priority? What's more important than this? You talk through them. Okay. When you're prospecting, you shouldn't face objections. You should be building a conversation, not pitching, because the harder you push, the harder they push back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just because 1 out of 1,000 is willing to go through, it doesn't mean that that's the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. And objections can be good because you can understand what are they up against? What are they concerned about? They're at least vocalizing it instead of smiling and nodding and then not telling you and then ghosting you. That's why you want to hear, you want honest, transparent, mutually beneficial conversations.
So forget about the pitching. It's more important, to start the conversation and engage in that way.
Pitching requires them to bridge where they are to what you're talking about. Conversations, you're bridging where you are to where they are. It's a very different thing.
Are the prospects always telling the truth?
Of course not.
I was expecting a different question, but okay.
Well, what if you cold call somebody's, did I catch it a good time? Or of course not. Oh yeah, I was waiting for a salesperson to call. It's about time. Where you been all my life? Well, that's why you have to build the rapport up so you can get to honest, transparent. And sometimes, and most of the time, they don't know. They may be feeling antsy. They may be a little concerned, and they don't put words to it. So you got to sense that. That's what great salespeople do. Because they're trying to sense, am I moving too fast? Or am I moving too slow? What do they need? Are they the right person? Because when they say they're the decision maker, they make the decision to talk to you. They don't make the decision, does the order fly into your email box in 30 days?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Now, dating, right? Dating, you got the opportunity to talk on the phone, do a Zoom, go for a coffee, dinner, show, and stuff like that. It would be right to assume that this is something that you have to do with your B2B clients, just to build the trust and the relationship? Right.
The reason you do that is to build rapport and comfort with the other person and build up trust. So, and that's something that we're missing right now because we don't have that opportunity.
Right.
But when you're able to do that, the real reasons come out. And I was always a on-prem, face-to-face seller. You know, if there was a deal, I flew across the country on a moment's notice for a half-hour meeting in the parking lot, because the bandwidth and the honesty and the trust is infinitely broader than over Zoom or over the phone. It just is. It's a law of proximity.
Right, right.
Right.
And
We go.
is this replacing? Is this the future for the commercial side? No.
For shorter, smaller deals, you know, it's what we have, but it's not good enough in a lot of cases.
So shaking hands and smile and stuff like
Because
that. I mean,
it proves how important it is to you that you're willing to travel and make the effort, and
right,
that you
right.
care about what they are going through. It demonstrates that. And subconsciously, in our reptilian brains, we trust people who are closest geographically to us. You're probably closer to your friends who are geographically closer to you.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're closer to your neighbors who are next to you than you are 2 doors down.
And that is a good point, because I remember I grew up with some friends that, because I changed countries, let's say, right? And I moved through different states, then those friends, good friends though, right?
Right.
But they tend to be forgotten because the proximity.
It's proximity.
And
It goes back to that you're selling to human beings, not to algorithms or robots. It's very different.
and I always, I mean, many years back, I thought that the only way to know what the customer needs is when you are close to that, because they're telling you, say, you know what, I'm frustrated today because this is what is happening in the company. That's how you are going to find out.
Right. How many meetings I've been in? You're in there for an hour, hour and a half. You do demo, presentation, and then your coach walks you out into the parking lot. In that 5 or 10 minutes, the bandwidth goes up, the truth comes out. I find out who is really behind me and against me, who else they're looking at, what is the real reason they're into this. Because we're outside of the magic building, and in the parking lot, and the cone of politics is gone, and the cone of truth is there. And that was my gimmick. Hey, you mind walking me to my car? I got a couple questions. And if they didn't go, I knew I didn't have the deal.
And you make me remember something that probably you said it or someone, but it has the same value anyway. And is that closing a meeting, this person was saying that he tends to say, okay, the meeting is over. Great, thank you for everything. And then continue on the conversation like nothing has happened, right? And then everything starts.
Then the truth comes out.
It's like saying, okay, the life is done. Then let's continue on the conversation. And you continue without saying that, but you continue, and then things are more relaxed. Everything is said in the way that it should be, and then you get the real truth about everything.
And 9 times out of 10, they go, Brian, I really want it, but Joe, he's not bought in yet. And I go, thanks for I hear you. I sense that too, but now I really get it. I appreciate it. Now you know what you're up against. And if they didn't tell you that, you don't know who's with you or who isn't.
That is correct. And I truly believe that sharing a meal is something that also helps in order to build that relationship.
Yes.
Probably that is very basic, but I truly believe that that's the case. Is that the case?
Yeah, definitely. And, we miss that, and we do the best we can, but we have to make up with it with more frequent, maybe bite-sized communication with people, transitioning from phone and Zoom to text, digging into who they are as a person. And why did they go to that company? What do they hope to accomplish? Talking about them, their favorite topic.
Excellent. I have multiple different questions for you, Brian, but time is running out, but let's try to use in the best way. Companies and sales people always concerned about the pipeline, and of course that has to be sustainable. And what is the key in order to build that and keep it up?
The key is continuing conversations with people who are not just going to buy this month, this quarter.
Okay.
Because so many times we're selling something and it's just not the right time yet. They don't have the money, they're busy, the contract hasn't expired yet, and people don't want to make that investment unless there's an order now. But we have to treat anybody who we think will be buying as a great prospect and worth our time and investment.
Okay. And without any question, and we are talking over LinkedIn, and probably we agree that it's important, but how important is to have a personal branding?
Well, think of LinkedIn not as just a social network, but as a 365 trade show. Then you get the idea. It's a trade show. Right?
Excellent.
And everybody's talking about themselves. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about your customers, the problems they face, what they're up against. Do I pitch anybody in my videos? No, I'm talking about the problems they're facing. I make fun of the challenges that management puts on people. I try and engage people with a little bit of a tip and a solution and a smarter way of looking at it. Not my podcast, not my training. That will only come if you're bought into that I can help you.
Mm-hmm. When do you discover LinkedIn?
03 when it came out. I was like, I've been this, because you have your Rolodex in the 90s, and then LinkedIn came out, and I was like, holy smokes. Because what, you buy a phone book or you switch lead lists with your friends? What a nightmare. Now you have everybody making themselves visible. And if you treat them well, they will engage with you. I do have a 2 o'clock that I have to jump to, but.
Okay. Lastly, give us a career advice, which is something that you have done as well, very well.
Best career advice is, find something that you're good at, that the market wants, and focus on being really good at it. Find somebody who